want to switch gears now to the links, where we talked the last couple of weeks about Tiger Woods and his car accident. How some of the players wore red last weekend, 2 weekends ago now, to support Tiger, and we're all happy that he survived. He's not paralyzed. Those are the first two things I think everybody thought about when they saw the car accident. Then people started chiming in on, is he ever going to come back? Well, if he doesn't really ever fully come back to the PGA Tour, some folks have now said, who's going to be that draw? Who's going to be that player that not necessarily is, a great player? There is so much talent on the PGA Tour right now. It's ridiculous. I mean, Justin Thomas, Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka, but the guy that I think draws people in now that could be the kind of going to carry the torch with Tiger could be Bryson DeChambeau. What do you think about that, Brandon?
I like his game. I think he's one of the best players on the tour. He's won a lot of big events. I just don't know if he's got the personality to carry the tour like Tiger does. Right. So I think that would be the big question mark I have to Bryson DeChambeau and his little special hat that he wears. I think that's what most people kind of recognized him before he won himself a major. I think most people recognize when, you saw him when he was wearing his little hats there. I forgot what they're called. But I just don't know if he has the personality to carry the tour. And I'd be looking for more like guys like, obviously a Rory McIlroy, or a Dustin Johnson, or a Brooks Koepka. I think you could get more out of those guys, carrying the tour with their personality, or even a guy like Bubba, man. Bring Bubba back and bring Bubba back into the forefront. I know he hasn't been playing that great recently, so I know most people aren't talking about him. But I don't know if DeChambeau carries that much weight right now. If he wins a couple more majors, he won't need much of a personality to carry the tour. But I think it's different when we're talking about replacing Tiger. I guess that is the topic here. And I don't want to even say that, but stepping in to cover the tour while Tiger's gone, because I think Tiger's going to come back. Honestly, I think Tiger's going to come back and still be reigning supreme until, like you said, he goes to the senior tour. But in the meantime, who's going to be that big draw to watch? And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Tony Finau looking pretty good as well. So I don't know. That's a really good question, Pat.
Yeah, I think DeChambeau's the guy, and there's a couple reasons. One, some of those other guys you talk, like I think Brooks Koepka is probably the best player on tour. I mean, when it comes to majors, no matter what happens, he can come in there. He could be a robot and just crush the final round. We saw him do it a few weeks ago. I forget the name of the tournament that he was. I don't know, it was a Waste Management Open, or maybe it was one of those other tournaments where he wasn't even in the top 3 or 4 in the final round, but then posted a round in the 60s. And Jordan Spieth and a few other guys couldn't catch up to him. But he doesn't really have this big personality. Dustin Johnson really doesn't have this big personality. I like Rory a lot, but Rory hasn't been playing great, and he doesn't really. Maybe it's just because he's not an American. There's just a couple of things there. Where he's just not this big personality. I mean, I love watching him, but Bryson DeChambeau, you mentioned the Scally Cat. That's what you were talking about before. And that's whatever, I mean, there's some players that dress cool that aren't that great. So, I don't know if that necessarily helps you at all. But one of the most exciting things I saw on Sunday watching the Arnold Palmer Invitational was on number 6, when he angled his drive, where he would hit it over the water, where you had to carry it well over 300 yards. And then I think he carried it about like 340, and then it ended up being a 377-yard drive. And that's the type of thing, I know it sounds Happy Gilmore-ish, but that's the type of thing that people want to see. That's so entertaining, on top of being good. When he does stuff like that, a couple of years ago, he's never been a small guy, but he just beefed up, over the last couple of years. And now he's this massive guy that swings to annihilate the golf ball. And one of the biggest reasons why people loved watching Tiger, on top of the fact that he's probably at his best, the greatest player ever, was that Tiger could kill the ball off the tee. So it's not just, your personality, how you dress, whatever you want to say, but playing golf in an entertaining way, on top of being competitive, might be the reason why he's the guy that draws people in, because he seems like the way that his style of play is actually almost more like Phil Mickelson, in the sense that Tiger was like the machine. He was the assassin. You didn't want him leading on Sunday because he was just gonna step on your throat. Phil Mickelson was the guy that was like the gambler. He took chances. He hit these crazy chip shots and pitch shots that were so fun to watch. He would either try to hit the ball like through a tree and get it onto the green, or would go off the tree, left of the fairway. So, I think DeChambeau is almost more like Phil Mickelson, where he's a little bit more of a gambler, takes a few more risks, and that's fun to watch too. And I think he's the type of player that might draw more folks into golf as Tiger is recovering. Because the other thing too is, even when Tiger comes back, he's not going to, he still right now, before he got in the car accident, wasn't playing in a ton of tournaments. It was the majors, it was the players, it was, try to get to the FedEx Cup, and that's about it. And, and a couple of the other bigger tournaments. I know he hosts a tournament as well, but it's not like he was playing in 20 tournaments a year. So you need other guys to draw people in. And I think DeChambeau is one of those guys.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, you're right that they definitely, the tour needs it, because like you said, Tiger doesn't play in enough. So the tour needs somebody else to kind of step up. And what about Phil, though? I mean, I love Phil Mickelson. I mean, he's still playing. I mean, if he could get hot there in certain courses, he lights it up. I love the lefty, so I wouldn't mind seeing that as well. But no, I think you're right. And with that drive that Bryson hit the other day, the crowd went crazy. The crowd went absolutely nuts and crazy. So to bring up your point, I think you're right in that context.